What if I told you one of America's most successful inventors was a black man who had only an 8th grade education? And history barely talks about him. His name was William Chester Ruth. He was born in 1882 on a small farm in Pennsylvania. His father had once been enslaved. Freedom came only after the Civil War, when his father served in the famous 54th Massachusetts Infantry. That meant William Chester Ruth grew up in a household that understood something deeply. Freedom was not given easily. It had to be earned and protected. Life on that farm was not easy. Money was limited, opportunities were few, and education for black children at that time was often restricted. William Chester Ruth went to school, but only for a short time. He completed just 8 grades of education. After that, he had to leave school and begin working. Most people would have accepted that. Most people would have believed their future was already decided. But Ruth had something different: curiosity. When he was 12 years old, his father began teaching him blacksmithing.
Yes, sir.
Inside a small workshop filled with tools, fire, and sparks of metal, young William began learning how machines worked. He watched iron heat until it glowed bright orange. He watched it bend under the hammer. He learned how gears turned, how wheels moved, how levers multiplied strength. The blacksmith shop became his classroom. Every tool was a lesson. Every broken machine was a puzzle waiting to be solved. And Ruth loved solving puzzles. But there was something else he noticed, something that most people ignored. Farm work was brutally hard. Men spent hours lifting hay, feeding machines by hand, stacking heavy bundles under the hot sun. Sometimes it took 8 men to do a single job. That's when Ruth asked a simple question. What if a machine could do this work faster? What if one invention could save the labor of 8 men? That single question would change his life. By the early 20th century, William Chester Ruth had developed enough skill to open his own workshop. In 1923, he opened Ruth's Ironworks shop in Gap, Pennsylvania. And this is where the story becomes even more interesting. Because at that time, it was the only black-owned manufacturing business in the entire region. Think about that. A black inventor running a mechanical manufacturing shop in early 20th century America. He wasn't just fixing machines, he was building them, designing them, improving them. Between 1924 and 1950, William Chester Ruth would design and patent 52 mechanical inventions. 52! But the invention that changed everything came in 1924. It was called the Combination Baler Feeder, and farmers immediately understood why it mattered. Before Ruth's invention, baling hay required several men working long, exhausting hours. Ruth studied the process carefully. Then he designed a mechanical system that automatically fed hay into the baler. The result was remarkable. According to early reports, the invention could save the labor of 8 men. Farmers across the country wanted it. Orders started coming in. Soon, more than 5,000 units were sold across the United States. For a man with only an 8th grade education, this was extraordinary. But Ruth was not finished. In fact, his most complicated invention was still ahead. It was an automatic hay baler tie system. The machine contained 87 moving parts. 87! When patent lawyers first examined the design, they were stunned. One reportedly described it as a complicated mess, not because it didn't work, but because it was so mechanically complex that the patent office struggled to approve it. It took 2 years for the patent to finally be granted. But once it was approved, farmers bought thousands of them. By the 1930s, William Chester Ruth had built a reputation as one of the most innovative mechanical minds in agriculture. But something surprising happened next. His inventions started attracting attention far beyond farms. In 1934, the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation purchased 150 mechanical cinder spreaders designed by Ruth. These machines helped spread gravel and cinders onto icy roads during winter, improving safety for drivers across the state. And then came the moment that almost nobody talks about, World War II. By that time, William Chester Ruth was nearly 60 years old. Most people at that age would have slowed down, but Ruth's mechanical mind was still working. During the war, the US government approached him. They wanted help designing classified aircraft devices and bomb sight mechanisms. Think about that, a self-taught inventor with an 8th grade education helping design military technology. Some of the engineering concepts he worked on would later influence technologies used in missile guidance systems in the 1950s. His mind was decades ahead of his time. By 1950, his success could no longer be ignored. That year, Ebony magazine published a profile about him. They described him as one of the most successful black inventors in American history. Yet somehow, his name still never became widely known. No movies, no textbooks, no national recognition, just quiet respect from the people who understood his work. William Chester Ruth continued working and inventing well into his later years. He lived a long life. In 1971, at the age of 89, William Chester Ruth died in a car accident. Today, a Pennsylvania historical marker stands in his honor, but many people are still hearing his name for the first time. A man with an 8th grade education who created 52 patented inventions, a self-taught genius who helped shape American agriculture and contributed ideas to military technology. A man history almost forgot. If this is your first time hearing his name, then his story has already done something powerful. It has reminded us that brilliance can come from anywhere. All I ask you to do for this man is simple. Like this video, share it, and subscribe to this channel, because the more people who hear this story, the more the world will remember the name William Chester Ruth.